Hello and welcome. This is a very special conversation. We were actually debating the impact even offline when Orko gave us the thumbs up to start the show. We were actually talking about the impact of war because each one of us are feeling it. Whether you are reading your newspapers in the morning, whether you're reading online reportage, whether you're watching your IPL in the evening, whether you're following sport, you must be feeling that pinch. LPG prices, energy prices, normal food, fertilizer, farmers, everything. All of a sudden, the whole world has gone into a negative tizzy. And the truth is, there will be no winner, no loser in this whole thing. And this will continue for at least the next 6 months. And that is a global projection. So, what impact does this have on sport? Has sport gotten impacted as badly? We have seen a Koneru Humpy withdraw from the candidates. We have seen a PV Sindhu withdraw from the All England. We have seen multiple tournaments like the Grand Prix, Formula One races getting cancelled. We have seen Leo Messi versus that match, Yamin Lamal in Doha get cancelled on the 27th of March. So, how does global sport deal with this ongoing crisis, and what's the impact that all of us are feeling? So that's the conversation that Gargi, Trisha and I would be having. Trisha, first to you, when such a thing is going on, the overall atmosphere is negative. FIFA World Cup coming, multiple Women's World Cup cricket coming, CWG coming, Iran has qualified for the FIFA World Cup, for example. What is your first take? How has war impacted sport?
I think when this whole impact started, when the war initially started, before it has escalated to this level, I almost had this feeling of anxiety, and I'll tell you why. And I will actually remind you of this. If you remember the COVID time, I remember the sports industry was closed for 157 days, and much like a lot of others, I was unemployed for 157 days. The only time in my life that I have been unemployed, doing nothing, staying at home, and you suddenly feel helpless, anxious, confused, a bit raged, of course, and then you also start understanding that there's this saying that people keep saying, don't mix sports and politics. That's so stupid to say that. It is so interconnected. How can you have sports without politics when politics has so much impact? Think of this. Even now, the Ukraine and Russian players, they don't shake hands. Yeah. So war has a bigger impact. And now with the FIFA World Cup and that entire group, it is completely of the teams, the countries which are affected in the World Cup. And everything is depending on it. Whether we are going towards a worse time, whether we can regain, and what happens to the sporting eco-culture as a whole. That's scary.
You see a lot of sponsors. One of the premier sponsors being, say, Emirates. They sponsor almost every sporting event.
Correct.
They are impacted. Global carriers, Qatar, again, airlines, they are impacted. Whether it is airspace closures, whether it is flights getting reduced, whether it is fuel prices going up, whether it is jet fuel becoming very expensive. What happens to the larger sports industry?
It's a difficult question to answer. And, before I get to answering this specific question, throughout this entire debacle, throughout this entire situation, all I kept going back to was the feeling that I had. And these two situations cannot be compared. Let me clear that up. But I'm talking about the feeling that I had when, after that stampede at Chinnaswamy, when I was hearing fireworks go off on one end and ambulance sirens on other end. That is what I'm feeling right now, because a lot of sports are still going on, right? And sports is always a celebration. On the other hand, there are so many lives being impacted. There are lives lost. There are livelihoods lost. There are people who are unemployed, who one of my house helps came up to me and said that, we're having to cook we don't have a stove anymore because there's no gas. So we have to go and collect firewood and then cook on a fire. So that tells you where, how much life has been impacted. And when you think about us going out to watch a game, us covering an IPL, it is such a dystopian feeling to have, which is, it's so, inhuman. In a sense or the other, that while one end of the spectrum is struggling so much, we still continue to celebrate. But at the same time, the entire ecosystem has been impacted so much, from flights to
Sponsors, I think
sponsors. Yeah,
it's a huge loss in the market, because as you can see, and you know this the best because you are now running the company, and this is where I will ask you as an entrepreneur, if I ask you to put the hat on, how difficult is it if I talk about the larger ecosystem, because there are tournaments, as she said, that is going to go on, but sponsors are affected. That essentially affects not only sports persons but journalists, us, our tours. How are you handling this as an entrepreneur?
It impacts everyone. So I think it is comparable to COVID times in terms of hardships. So the first thing that I kind of think as an entrepreneur is save jobs. That you are seeing jobs go in IT companies by every night.
Yeah.
You are seeing what is happening. There are extremely well-to-do media houses in India who have even stopped internal travel.
Yeah.
They have stopped election coverage. Now, election coverage is staple for any media
News,
house.
yeah.
So they have stopped that as well, because the mantra in these situations is conserve cash. Whatever you have, you conserve cash. Now, my whole priority in this whole thing is to first protect my people.
Yeah.
That the 55 odd people who are now employed by the company, that at least we should be able to tide this over. I am giving myself a 6-month ballpark, that between April and September, beyond September I am pretty confident this will get sorted. So whatever happens in the next 6 months, I need to protect my people. So for that, whatever I need to do, I will do. Now, it's not an easy situation to be in. For example, on the one hand, you want to cover.
Yeah.
On the one hand, you don't want things to get impacted. But then existing deals, done deals get stuck. People have cash flow issues. Money which is supposed to come is not coming. Deals which were almost done have all of a sudden been stalled. So take the case of Africa.
Yeah.
9 African countries have qualified for the FIFA World Cup.
Yes.
In normal circumstances, I would have swung deals in Africa by now easily.
Yeah.
I've got incredible contacts. Deals have not happened in Africa because people are all waiting and watching. I'm not telling you that the deal will not happen. I'm telling you that at this point in time, everything is in a limbo.
Yeah.
So my sleep has gotten impacted. So what I do is I keep getting up at night and I keep reading multiple different sites, whether it's Reuters, whether it's Axios, whether it's CNN, whether it's Fox News. So to try and understand that what is the world saying, I keep checking the market index, whether it's the Asian market, whether it's the Japanese, whether it's the Australian, whether it's, so clearly in all of these things, I have kind of become a bit restless as well. So I keep, so for example, suppose the oil barrel touches $120. It'll be catastrophe for the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At this point in time, the Brent is around 98. Even by the way, I have to say this: India has managed it well. India so far has managed it extremely well. Having said that, fertilizers could get impacted, which means farmers.
Yeah.
Airline fuel gets impacted, which means you and me. So we are shooting this at the Hadapsar facility in Pune. I'll give you a basic example which will make you all understand. We booked the tickets. We decided to come in the first week of April.
Yeah.
We booked the tickets around, I don't remember exactly when, maybe around the 4th or the 5th. At that point in time, there was chance of so we saw Donald Trump's statement that a whole civilization would die.
Yeah.
The moment that statement happened, that statement was, he made that statement, and that night, all of us, and then that night there was a fragile ceasefire that happened.
Yeah.
Now, and I'm telling you a very basic example to make you all both understand. So I said, book the tickets for us, 6 of us, to come to Pune. The previous night, the flight cost was 8,500 rupees from Calcutta to Pune. Or the return was 8,500 rupees. The next morning, when the travel agent issued the ticket, we paid 14,500 rupees per ticket. So the moment that statement came, within 12 hours, the
Everything
market
changed.
reacted in a manner that we spent 50,000 rupees for 6 tickets.
Which makes no sense in any real world.
Yeah, and I think
How?
also, you know,
I mean, I freaked out. I
Yeah.
started saying, why did you not do it yesterday to people who do it? But then I realized this is not in anybody's hands.
No. Yeah.
So the tickets were blocked. Anyone knows that if you block tickets or hold tickets, generally it's okay.
Yeah.
But within one night, we ended up spending 50,000 rupees for 6 domestic tickets. I'm just giving you one example. Think about it. Generally, business class tickets to the UK costs you around 2,75,000 rupees to about 3,30,000, 3,40,000 chalo. Today, in today's day and age, if you buy an Emirates business class ticket to go to the United Kingdom, you are talking about 4 lakhs plus. If you want to go to Glasgow for the Commonwealth Games, you are going to pay 4 lakhs 30,000 rupees. So there is a 1 lakh plus premium now. Why? Because flights have been reduced.
yeah.
Take Birmingham. Both of you are supposed to travel in the summer. I am not sure now that the flight that both of you are on, and I'm saying all this because I check every day. The flight that both of you are on, the 2:55 p.m. flight from Dubai, is going to take off because the last 20 days it has not worked.
Yeah.
Now, suppose that doesn't go, then you are put on a 6:25 a.m. flight the following day. So everything gets muddled up. That's what I'm trying to say. So, it's not of our making, but we are all a part of this story.
Yeah.
Imagine a Koneru Humpy. Will she ever qualify again for a candidates?
Exactly.
I don't know.
You never know.
I don't know. The chance is gone. Imagine a PV Sindhu. Time is running away from her.
Yeah.
She did not play the All England. I mean, where is this thing headed? And as
In
I said,
fact, one of the impacts that I can also think about is the conversation that you, me, and Snehashish were having last week itself. Snehashish and I were supposed to travel for the South Africa
Africa.
tour, and I remember that you had said, I think the flights, let's wait for some more time. If the flights resume, we will send you guys. And I do remember the way Snehashish and I reacted. We were like, no, we don't want to take chances. It's impossible to take chances right now. What if we are stranded somewhere?
Exactly.
That scare, the whole anxiety, and that's a little unfair because somebody else is taking.
Because see, you feel responsible. Like in Gargi's case, Gargi is like this young kid, right?
Yeah.
Who I have kind of mentored. Now I remember it was a very hapless kind of feeling when she was writing that I can't get out of this stampede.
Yeah,
And I was like, suppose something happens, then what do I do?
yeah,
For my whole life, I will feel the guilt saying, I had asked her to do this. For whatever reason, she couldn't come out of the stampede. Now, will her parents come and tell me anything? No, they can't. But you, as a person, she's your own. You are my own. Now, I have said, no, go to South Africa. Now you get stranded in the Middle East. Then what?
Yeah.
In some way, it is my job to get you out of there, to evacuate you out. And you are in a very disturbed space. That what is the correct call? Do I do this? Do I
the
send?
continuous anxiety around
Exactly.
it, Gargi, and people like us who need to travel a lot because of the job.
You're unsure all the time.
Exactly.
Of your safety, of the costs, of and at one point it also starts, you as an employee also start getting a little bit guilty that you're being such a huge
Yes.
cost to the company.
Yes.
Those are little feelings that a lot of
No,
us
I
don't
know
talk
because
about.
Snehashish and
But-
I had this discussion.
Yeah.
So there was this flight. Most of the flights are to South Africa from Middle East, like
Yeah.
via Middle East.
Yeah.
But there's one flight I think via Singapore.
and because you want to do it,
exactly,
you're
and we saw the
excited.
cost, and we were like, he might say yes, but you don't want to say that to the company either.
Exactly.
And it is all happening at the cost. And think of someone like PV Sindhu, and I will take her example. Gargi, it's not only about missing out the All England. It is also about the fact that she was stranded there. It was happening right in front of her eyes. Sports persons travel day in and day out. Think of it, the next time she goes via the Dubai airport, the anxiety around it.
Exactly. And you know what?
And the Middle East.
Yeah.
The Middle East was supposed to be the most safe.
Safe
Safe,
place.
yes.
Dubai was. We would go there with our eyes closed.
My wife and daughter tells me the other day saying, generally what we do is when we go for our summer break
Yeah.
to Oxford, we go Calcutta,
Dubai,
Dubai, London or Birmingham. They said, whatever you do, don't enter Dubai. And I'm like, what do you mean? Said, no, not feeling good to enter Dubai. So it has completely freaked people out, and I don't see this getting sorted in the immediate future. It will get sorted.
But
Everything gets sorted. But when it gets sorted, there will be oil prices will fall, fuel prices will fall. There will be revenge buying. There will be revenge consumption. I am conscious of all that. But to what extent the damage will be or the scars will be, I don't know.
and it'll all be to the common man, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Will the politician get impacted by this? Will the state leader get impacted by this?
World leaders, nothing.
It's
will
always
happen
the
to
common
them.
people.
It's always like that.
But,
once
you know,
somebody who
sorry.
gets a 15,000 rupees salary gets a job lost
Exactly.
in a company, or somebody who would have gotten his first tour gets that cancelled. That's how
It's a
basic.
huge
Kargi's
impact.
point about the domestic help having to cook with wood.
Yeah.
You don't have kerosene, you don't have this. We have gone back to that. Now you can't book a gas before 25 or 35, whatever number of days. And, basics have gotten impacted because of this war.
But one thing that has stood out to me throughout this entire ordeal is IPL's robustness.
Yeah, but having said that, it's a short-term thing.
Yeah.
I don't think if something like this carries on for a while, you can do that. You can't. I mean, take teams.
Okay.
The West Indian players did not reach on time for KKR.
Yeah.
So it's not as if things were smooth. They couldn't take the West Indies team. They couldn't leave Calcutta after
The World Cup.
the ICC World Cup. They got stranded. Some people had to stay on. Take Sri Lanka. The government is giving subsidy 22 million people, but fuel prices have surged. So will there be consumption as much? Will IPL be consumed in Sri Lanka in the same manner? No, because it's considered expense. Now, will I go to a pub or will I go to a mall and consume that in the same manner? No, I won't, because my consumption ability has gone down drastically. I can't even afford. So everything will get impacted.
Yeah.
For the short term, I say this again, India has managed it well. And that's why let's pray that by this month this thing gets over. Or it will not get over. At least there will be a temporary something.
Yeah.
By the way, my hunch is there will be. Now, if you see whether it is the United States, whether it is Iran, whether it is Russia, whether it is China, whether it is Britain, whether it's France, whether it's India, whether it's Pakistan, every country now realizes that somehow, somewhere, an off-ramp is needed.
Yeah.
You have to stop fighting, because otherwise you are leading to a global catastrophe. You have to stop the fight. Whether they get on the negotiating table, whether they continue with the fragile truce, the ceasefire, whether they figure out the United States strategy of stopping enrichment of uranium and all. Let's not get into politics. We are not political experts. But I think from the standpoint of the globe, whether it's United Nations, there will be a solution. How quickly that solution will be is the only question. And I also believe that if there is a solution, there will be a strong rebound, because people are fed up with this for the last 1.5 months. One good news is triggering the market, and you will see Sensex going up and up. So let's just keep fingers crossed that something will happen in the next couple of weeks to sort this.
Yeah. Before we end this, I actually wanted to ask something. So, do you see Iran playing the FIFA World Cup? If yes, then on what conditions?
How does it happen?
Exactly. How does it happen? Iran.
Two ways. One, if there is a look. After 1979, if an Islamabad talks is possible between an Iranian delegation and American delegation face to face, first it was told that it will be proximity talks, which is basically that you are in another room, in another room, and somebody passes messages. That didn't happen. They were face to face. Now, if they can do that, and if they come to it's now being told that there will be a second round of negotiations, and I'm hopeful if there is a second round, and both parties now want to come together, right? So I think if they do that and there is a truce, then Iran will play, because there will be a truce, there will be a ceasefire. Second is if FIFA changes groups and puts or changes matches, venues, and puts Iran in Mexico or in another venue, not the US. Because the question is, suppose Iran is allowed to play, will the Iranian supporters get visas to the US? No,
Yeah.
they won't. So automatically you are you are impacting the spectacle in that way. Will it be anything close to, who will go and watch that team?
Yeah.
Who? Obviously that country's people. Will anybody even want to travel? No, they won't. So there are many layers within layers, but I still think the World Cup will happen. I think Iran will play. I think after this truce, whenever that is, there will be a truce. Whenever that is, there will be some negotiation there that let them play. And again, if the two countries can come together on a nuclear deal, then what is FIFA World Cup?
Yeah.
So they will try and solve this, because ultimately everybody will also know that to give people a feel of normalcy, Iran has to play, or the World Cup has to happen, America has to host it properly, something like that. So I think an off-ramp will come through.
Well, I think that brings us to the end of this conversation. It was quite heavy. It's not easy to discuss about these things, especially when lives are at stake. I think that's when it becomes so grim to talk about. But
children have died, Gali. Children have died.
Exactly.
Innocent lives have been lost. I am not saying X is to blame or Y is to blame. All countries. Children have died. Energy facilities have been hit. Oil refineries have been hit. Farmers are being impacted on a daily basis. Food crisis will happen.
Human beings who do not take any of these decisions are impacted in a larger scale. So yes, it's tough topic
to talk about. Yeah. But we keep it real here at Revsportz, and thank you so much, Boria and Trisha, for joining for this conversation, and thank you to Shaporji Palonji. We're at their estate. Joy will, they're bringing a little joy in our lives in these grim times. But thank you so much, and stay tuned.